Good morning. So today we are talking about, today is Monday, it's the beginning of our week in ELA. We will be talking about poems. Okay, the story, our grade level story we're reading this week is called Cats and Kittens. Okay, and in this story it has three different poems. There's a poem about a camel in the desert. There's a poem about the cats and the kittens. And then lastly, there's a poem about bats and how they're not a bird, okay? But I want to talk about poetry a little bit. And we're really focusing this week on a rhyming poem, okay? Now, some of the things you have to think about when you have a poem that rhymes. The last word, these are sometimes not complete sentences. You may see a line. These are more focusing on the lines than focusing on full sentences. And you may see sometimes with these poems, a lot of the ones we're reading, two lines together, then a space, and two more lines. And look very closely at the ends of the lines at the word. You might see, I know in one of the poems it says way and say. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these poems. A rhyming poem expresses a poet's thoughts and feelings. It often includes images and sensory details to describe something. So lots of these poems have adjectives. Adjectives are words that describe. Cool glasses. Cool is an adjective. Orange t-shirt. Orange is describing the color. Okay, so these are things that poets are people that write poems, are special writers that really focus on poems. And what these writers do with the rhyming poems is they try to configure it in a way where they can have one word say a rhyme, and then the next line say another group of words, and then rhyme it again. Okay, so, and they do things, I use the term imagery. Now, you can think of that as when we learned in school that you close your eyes and you make a movie in your head. Well, that's what the poets want you to do with these poems. They want you to not just close your eyes, I mean, to read the words, you need them, but think about all the things that they're talking about. They want you to feel the feelings, the strong feelings that they feel about what we're reading this week is about animals, okay? Now, a rhyming poem is written, like I said, they're written rather in lines rather than paragraphs. Now, when we're writing a story, we might have a paragraph about the things we need to make an ice cream cone. The next paragraph in a how-to writing piece. The next paragraph would be how to put it together. And then the next paragraph might be how you eat it with a spoon. Okay, so there's different types of things. Now, rhyming poems have words that rhyme or end with the same sounds. And it sounds kind of cool when it's put all together. These rhyming words are usually, like I said, at the end of the lines. So I went to college for English, and I read lots of poetry. Poetry from around the world, poetry from America, and poetry from many different places. But one of my favorite poems that I'm going to start with today is a nonsense poem. It's not real. It's a made-up idea. And that's the great thing about writing. You can think of any idea you want in the world, write it down, and if it's interesting to read about, and other readers find it interesting, then that's awesome. But one of my favorite holidays of the year is Halloween, and this poet named Lewis Carroll, very famous writer, he wrote a poem called Jabberwocky. What's a Jabberwocky? Well, Jabberwocky is a made-up word. It doesn't mean anything. But this poet says that in his poem, he's going to describe the ways that the Jabberwocky animal reacts to things. And this is the photograph that it has, a picture of the Jabberwocky. Now take a look. Excuse me. It's kind of like a strange looking dragon. But when you read a poem like this, you really want to read the poem the way that the poet wanted you to read it. So when I read this, I'm going to make this animal sound powerful. I'm going to make him sound maybe a little bit spooky. But let's listen to some of the things. And some of the words in this are not even real, but they sound like they're real. Let's listen. "'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves and the moves wraths outgabe. Beware of the jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jub-jub bird, and shun the frivolous bandersnatch." More make-believe stuff, but it sounds really a little bit scary, I guess. I don't know, but I like poems that are like this, and I can go on and on and on. "At last, how slain the jabberwock, come to my arms, my boy. Oh, frivolous joy, Callooh, Calais, he jorted in his joy." It's really interesting to me, kind of strange, but definitely a lot of really, I like that the poet made up some make-believe words. Let's take a look at the poem that has real words about real things. Since I've been home with my family, we've been working together on dinners. So one of the favorite dinners in my house is spaghetti, okay? And there's a famous poem by Jack Pritlutsky called Spaghetti, Spaghetti. And this poem has some rhyming words at the ends, but it also has a little bit of humor. That means it's a little bit funny. And I kind of like the idea of everything the way they put this poem together. "Spaghetti, spaghetti, you're wonderful stuff. I love you, spaghetti. I can't get enough. You're covered with sauce and you're sprinkled with cheese. Spaghetti, spaghetti, oh, give me some, please. Spaghetti, spaghetti, I love you a lot. You're slishy, you're sloshy, delicious and hot. I gobbled you down, oh, can't get enough. Spaghetti for spaghetti, you wonderful stuff." Okay, and there's a part 2 to this where they rhyme a word with spaghetti, which is very tough. They found a word called confetti, and it said, and it ends by saying, "Some threw confetti, and others didn't know what to do, so they threw spaghetti." It's kind of even sillier than this one. But there is one more poem that's very, very small, very short, but it has lots of really strong ideas. And I'm going to kind of pick apart the pieces of this because it doesn't have a lot of words. But poets don't have to write long, long stories. They just have to talk a lot about their feelings about certain things, and that can make a poem really powerful. William Carlos Williams is one of my favorite authors, and he wrote a poem that's very simple. It's really, has no periods or punctuation. So poets sometimes don't think about the rules of the English language when they're writing. And here we go. So much, it's called The Red Wheelbarrow. Now, a wheelbarrow is a tool that you lift up and you can wheel heavy things, rocks, firewood, things like that. And it's a big, the wheel is a simple machine that really makes a job easier and get done faster. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow, glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. That's it. All right, well, what does that mean? Why did he write such a short, tiny piece of poem? Well, I'll tell you why. So much depends, meaning this is a tool, a wheelbarrow, that you might see someone in their backyard wheeling some grass around or some leaves. Landscapers, people that cut the grasses, they have wheelbarrows for things to help them. But a farmer, he uses this all day long. This is the most important tool, the best strategy he has, because he can move things from one place that are very heavy to another, okay? Then it says glazed with rainwater. Well, he uses it all the time. He probably left it outside in the rain because he used it again yesterday, and last night it rained. Beside the white chickens. He's going to be using that wheelbarrow to help these chickens. Now, if you close your eyes and you picture a wheelbarrow with a little bit of water in it and a couple chickens next to it, you think farm, you think rural community, you think not city, you don't think skyscraper, but you think very simple farmer who plants crops, he plants seeds and grows into beautiful plants and sells the vegetables. But every farmer needs a wheelbarrow. All right, those are my three, really some of my favorite poems ever. And I love poetry, and I hope you like it too. And I hope you like this new story we're reading about these three new poems. We're going to take a really close look at the three poems about the camel, about the bat, and the cats and kittens, okay? Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.